Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade J52, and I am joined this week by my merry cohorts. We have our resident Orion, who was frying on the table, our resident Neela.
What up, all? KO dance for the win.
There it is.
Me too, me too.
And we also have our resident teacher of the Kirby variety, who is also frying on the table.
Roasted Kirby.
Roasted Neela's better.
Didn't know we devolved into a cannibal show, but anyway. Artie should be joining us a little bit later. He informed us he's going to be a little bit late, so...
His hollow emitter got broken again.
Well, he forgot to plug it in, so he's got to charge it a little bit before he gets here, you know, the usual. And everything.
I was gonna say I am surviving hurricane / tropical storm, whatever it's at now, Harvey. But it is sending a lot of rain, and that may be hitting us very soon. So if I suddenly explode, that's why.
Yep.
Everyone likes to explode.
Well, I think that's kind of obvious from the Kale dance
yeah.
she's doing. I mean, the victory of Sompek. Yes. But on a fun note, we can start the show off with a little something fun. We did figure out that it starts at round 21. Once you complete that round, you will unlock the dance.
So yes, once the the counter reaches 22, you can then, if that's all you're after, once you see 22 on the counter, you can commit suicide.
Yes.
Because you will then have the dance.
And just to be clear, folks, you don't actually have to complete round 22. You just have to get to round 22.
To round 22, yes.
Yeah. But
yes.
That is one bit of fun stuff we did want to mention. But diving into our articles, we don't really have a lot for you guys this week. So, probably going to be a bit shorter show than we usually do. But the very first thing we have this week is actually our fiction blog. This came out a few days ago now. This actually was on Tuesday. This is the Brothers in Blood fiction blog. And it involves a Klingon captain and a human Starfleet officer in the Arena of Sompek challenge. Now, I've read through it some. I definitely loved the little thing at the end there. Some of my ground pounders that may have already read it will get a kick out of that and everything. I don't want to really say what it is because I don't want to ruin it too much. But, thoughts from our panel on this?
I do think it's really cool the way they do chronicle their experiences together in the Arena of Sompek. And I love the descriptions of the dinosaurs. That was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah.
When they're talking about the dinosaurs. Well, these ones have laser beams.
Dino what?
That was, yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yep.
They had laser beams.
Laser beams, or was it?
$1,000,000.
And I think Neela's officially lost his sanity. Not that he ever really had any to start with. But
You did either, so I don't want to hear it.
I didn't say that.
Oh yeah, here it goes. Do they have dinosaurs on Kronos? Dino what? I've never heard of such a thing. Oh no, it's missiles. Just as well, Carter said, suddenly gripping his phaser. This one has missiles! Yeah. So, and that doesn't really give anything away except that at some point they face the bot.
Yep.
But, yeah, which, I mean, yeah.
Yep. So,
but it does look like this one was actually written by our community manager.
oh yeah.
Which, yeah, if it was, he did a great job. Whoever wrote it, they did a great job, and it was a very nice read. So check it out. If nothing else, you'll You'll be able to relate to their adventures through the arena of Sompek if you have been participating in the event.
Yeah, we will have this in the notes for you guys. Definitely advise reading it. This is one of the more fun blogs I've read in a little bit. Definitely very well put together. But, moving right along, we have a Borg Red Alert weekend for our console guys.
I was going to say, I'll take that one. So, for our console guys, you can suit up and take part in, can't words tonight, in the Borg Red Alert. So look for it on the queues, and you'll also be notified when it appears in sector space. And you can select Borg Red Alert from the queues and check it out. It's always a nice, fun thing for us. All of the marks that are available in your version of the game will be available. And trying to think anything else that I left out, which is pretty much all of them, yeah. So you guys, I think, what are you guys missing on console? Competitive?
I'm pretty sure we're not missing any rep on console.
Okay. So yeah, all of the marks will be available, including fleet marks. So if you're missing marks, if you just like to fight the Borg, then definitely go ahead and try this out. It's a nice, short, fun little thing that gives a decent reward for the amount of time put in. Definitely. Anything to add, guys?
That about covers it.
Alrighty.
Resistance is futile. In a galaxy far, far away.
You know, I saw
And I'm gonna get lynched.
And
care.
that's how you piss off two sets of nerds at one time.
I'm gonna get lynched. I don't care. It was worth it.
Say that. You say that. I saw a billboard. It was on Twitter. I saw a billboard for a school where they said, "Resistance is futile. You will be educated." Yeah.
I told that teacher the only three letters I needed to know is U, S, and A. I couldn't resist throwing that in there.
And she told me I only needed to know two letters, F and U. Sorry.
And there you go.
I couldn't resist. Anyway.
But we will have this little announcement in the notes for you guys. There's a slight little bit of an RP blog to it that comes around. But anyways, we have the PC patch notes for the 24th.
Yep. With these patch notes, nothing too major. Did a fix with the transwarp, where you're able to transwarp via the weekly event banner. In the overview tab of the journal again. The research and development 4-pack bundle description to correctly state also includes all previous promotional ships. In the brushfire mission, moving to the back wall after initially spawning into the prison ground map will no longer cause players to move without handcuffs. And resolved issue that could occasionally cause character outline FX to clip over other FX. So yeah, that's an issue right there. For the systems, resolved issue that could prevent the temporal ally starship trait from activating reliably. Removed a condition that prevents some heals from scaling with incoming healing increases or decreases. Resolved issue that caused the increased recharge speed procs of the prevailing Regalia Impulse engines to affect the respective classes' captured powers, and subspace tears generated from the subspatial warheads trait will now reliably reach their target. anything stick out to you guys?
Mainly the R&D pack, because that did cause a lot of confusion for people thinking, well,
Yeah.
if this is a Infinity promotion, why doesn't it say it? So, rest assured, folks, that was not intentional for the text to only reflect the Sona ship. It is an Infinity promotion. If you are lucky enough to get one of the boxes, you'll have your choice of the new Sona Dreadnought or any of the previously passed ships. So that is just a text update that they did.
The one that stands out for me is the resolved an issue that caused the increased recharge speed procs on the prevailing Regalia Impulse engines to affect the respective classes' captain powers. So basically what this means is the procs to reduce the speed on your bridge officer abilities were causing things like attack pattern alpha and go down fighting and fire on my mark to cool down faster as well, which it definitely was not supposed to do. So that's the one that really sticks out for me, that they resolved that issue, so that's a good thing.
Like I say, folks, I mean, not a lot you can see on the screen, not a lot to the patch notes. There's only actually 8 of them overall. Kind of a slow week, I guess you could say, for this sort of stuff, compared to what we usually get normally. But,
Yeah.
again, we will have... Oh, go ahead.
But we did have a lot of Chris, we broke it.
We did.
They enjoy making me
We had
face
a
mask, I'm
lot
telling
of
you.
Chris, I broke it. We do. We do. I made him face desk real good earlier this week. That was more of a timing thing with my Chris, I broke it. But yeah.
You see, folks,
We love
it's a
to do
game
that.
to these people. Whichever one can apparently make me crack and go insane from hunting bugs first wins a prize. And it's a game to them, and if I crack, they win. And they know that.
Yeah,
Yes.
like I had a slate bug in a Victory Assault pack with my Voth swords. I was on an opposite platform. Enemy was on the other platform, just in range. Hit an ability to, with my sword, went basically walking across air and attacked the enemy.
Nice. You flew. You grew wings.
Yeah.
I like it.
Red
I like
Bull,
it.
it gives you wings!
No, not Red Bull. Voth swords. Hey,
Hey,
you fly.
somebody
I was gonna
was...
say, did your... I was gonna say, did your character drink a Red Bull before he did this? Because, you
Nope.
know...
Hey, somebody out there in YouTube land and possibly even Twitch was thanking it. I'm just the weirdo that said it. But, anyways, we will have this in the notes for you guys. Like I say, not a lot to it, but still possibly worth checking out. But, moving along, since we've cleared our articles, we're actually already to our budget build. And we're only about 15 minutes into the show, which is kind of surprising.
Hey.
But for this week, we're continuing with our Galaxy X series. This is, this week, the mid-range version. Last week, we actually did a one-key budget, which is a slight variation of our standard bare-bones budgets, where instead of the standard 2 million energy credit limit, you sell a lockbox key, and the current going rate of the key is what you have to work with EC-wise. This week, for our mid-range budgets, we always assume that they have a maximum EC spending limit of 30 million energy credits, and you have enough dilithium to take one single item up to epic quality. Everything else has to be free or as cheap as absolutely possible. Alright, so for this particular one, this is the Tier 5U Galaxy X Dreadnought. This is not the Fleet version. This is the one that you get from the C-Store itself and everything. Still a very potent ship, in my opinion, even by today's standards. Now, last week we kind of touched on, we're setting it up with a phaser build, we're using the quantum phase set, that sort of thing. So as far as our weapons go, straight away, the item that we took to epic quality was our quantum phase beam array. Now, once this beam array is taken to epic, it picks up a crit D mod, as well as the standard epic modifier, and we felt we would get more of our value out of taking the item to epic first, or the weapon to epic, I should say. But as far as our forward weapons go... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say more bang for your buck. Because if you're looking just pure damage increase, you're always going to get more bang for your buck by upgrading your weapons first rather than your consoles. Yes, it's going to cost a little more, but that's where the just going from 12 to 14 can almost double the damage output of your weapons. Gives you about I think it's 70% increase.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And eventually you do want to upgrade your consoles as well. By no means is that saying don't do it. Just consider upgrading the weapons first. As far as our other forward weapons, we also had the Quantum Phase Torpedo. Then we also, this time around, replaced one of our Crit D times 2. Oh wait, no, these are the DMG times 2s. The other phasers that we have, these are the blue quality Mark 11 phasers. These are DMG times 2. Those are from the Everything Old is New mission. You can get your choice of either a Crit D times 2, a DMG times 2, or a twin phaser bank that I believe it is Crit H and Crit D is the mods.
I believe so.
Yep.
Let's check.
While she is checking on that, I will continue along. Now, one of the things we did do was we replaced one of our phasers with a pulse phaser. This is a very rare pulse phaser with the Crit D times 2 Crit H mod. The phaser itself only cost about $2.5 million on the exchange, so it was very affordable in our mid-range budget. But
the twin phaser mods are Crit H and Damage.
okay, Crit H and damage. Okay, so I was off by one mod, not too bad. But some of the strengths that you get from the Quantum Phase set, specifically the weapons in this case, are also the 2 and 3 piece bonuses. Now, we use the Quantum Phase Converter. This comes also from, I believe it is the Sunrise mission is where you get the weapons.
Yes.
And basically, the Quantum Phase Converter, it functions as a universal phaser console. So it's essentially an additional tactical console that you can get for free. I'll go ahead and I'll show the 3-piece bonuses, what they look like in-game for you guys out there. Let me find the thing. But yeah, the console, it gives extra phaser damage, does give a bit of extra Drain X, which is good, and gives us a hot restart for our Aux power, which is very, very good for us, especially using an Aux to Bat build. But the game, let me scroll down through my inventory, and as you all can see, I'm a very big pack rat in game.
Yes, he is.
Yep.
You should see what he finds that he has forgotten he has.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
If I look at your inventory, I'm just gonna have an aneurysm inside. Have an aneurysm inside.
That's why I don't look at his inventory.
But anyways, as far as
because that whole organized mess, kills me.
Yep. But for those curious as to why we picked up a pulse phaser, aside from it being a very rare, the pulse phaser mod is, or the pulse phaser proc is actually not that bad in my opinion for a phaser. It debuffs the enemy for 10 damage resist and buffs you for a plus 10 damage resist. So it can, in some instances, improve the survivability of the ship a little bit. And in my opinion, it's not bad to have. But getting to our Quantum Phase set, for the 2-piece of the weapons, you You get a plus 15 accuracy rating, and it doubles the potency of the quantum phase high-yield torpedo, and doubles the shield drain that you get from the quantum phase weapons as well. So that's a pretty big deal. And if you're doing the Drain X builds on top of that to drain even further, that's gonna hit like a mother if you catch my drift. Then for our Quantum Phase 3-piece set, it is the Quantum Destabilizing Beam. It is on a 2-minute recharge, 10-kilometer range. Then, obviously these numbers are very far off because I'm on the ground reading this, but it deals phaser damage per second to the enemy for 10 seconds. Then it does a minus all power to enemies, and gives you a plus power to all subsystems. These abilities can be buffed by the exotic particle generators and the drain expertise. So, very potent ability, and that's why we had the actual weapon set itself. But as far as our shields, our engines, our warp core and everything, we also did utilize the Quantum Phase space set in this case. Now the Quantum Phase set, since it does not come with a warp core, we also had to source one of those out. A warp core that we use quite a bit, probably our most used warp core, I would say, actually, here on the show, is the Temporal Phase Overcharged core. Now, the reason the Temporal Phase Overcharged core is so good is because it does give some buffs to our aux power, gives us some additional stuff there, but the big thing that makes this one so good is the warp core capacitor that it actually gives. Now, if you are familiar with the Delta recruitment event, if you were here when that was going on, you probably know about a little device known as the Temporal Negotiator. Now, the Temporal Negotiator, whenever you used that device, it would cut the bridge officer cooldowns in half for the duration of the device. Now, this warp core essentially gives you the same thing in the form of a warp core capacitor, so it can speed up your cooldowns a lot faster in a pinch. Then, for our shields, our engines, and our deflector, and everything, we'll take a quick look at those in game. But the reason we wanted to use those is also for the set bonuses that they give. Let me actually, if I could not fail at pulling up stuff in this game today. Alright, so the deflector itself, it gives a bit of shield restoration, a bit of shield capacity, and a pretty healthy dose of Drain X. Aside from that, not really a lot that makes it stand out, in my opinion. Seems like your ordinary standard deflector. For the impulse engines themselves and everything, they are combat impulse engines. While at full impulse for 15 seconds, they give 26.2 to your flow capacitors, your particle generators, and your electroplasma systems. So it essentially buffs your drain and makes various other abilities stronger as well. Now for the shields themselves, they are pretty much your standard resilient shields. However, they give a plus 10% incoming shield healing to self. So any shield healing you use will actually be buffed compared to normal. And some of your science officer abilities that will repair the shields as well for a short healing. This applies to Tachyon Beam, Charged Particle Burst, Energy Siphon, Tychon's Rift, Viral Matrix, and Destabilizing Resonance Beam. So if you have any of those powers and you've got this shield, that's also going to heal you in addition to the normal effects that the abilities would otherwise have. As far as the Quantum Phase set bonuses, for the 2 set, you get a plus 17.8 maximum shield capacity, and it reduces all energy damage to shields by 7.5%. So you get an across-the-board damage resist to your shields, and you get additional shield capacity, just for having 2 of the items on the ship. Then, finally, you get the Energy Weapon Entanglement. This is the main reason we use the 3-piece space set. It's a 2-minute recharge. Firing energy weapons for 12 seconds triggers a quantum entanglement between self and foe. To self, you get plus 7.4% energy weapon damage for 12 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. And to the foe, you get a minus 7.5% energy weapon damage for 12 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. Now, this is... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say this is single target, so you want to use this on, because you have to target a target with this. So you would want to use this on a big target. For example, if I were to use Infected Space Advanced, because this is the one that a lot of people know, you would want to use this probably on one of the big transformers, either on the left or the right side, or you would want to use it on the gate or on the big tac cube at the end. You would not want to use it on something that's going to blow up right away really quickly.
Indeed.
So yeah.
And these bonuses, when they stack, that's around 74% damage increase that you're getting for those 12 seconds. That is a pretty potent thing, not exactly something to sneeze at. Now, keep in mind,
it's not.
The numbers that I read are going to be different from yours, because one, I'm on the ground as I read it, and two, my level of drain expertise might be a bit different from yours. So if your numbers are a little higher or a little bit lower, don't freak out, that can happen. But, anyways, we did want to take a minute to point out the set bonuses, because this is a major core part of the build. And, anyways, continuing along for our devices, we have the Subspace Field Modulator. This is a device that we will always recommend because it is free, it is easy to obtain from the Skirmish mission. Now, we normally prefer to think of devices as personal preference, but this is a very nice one to have. It gives an across-the-board damage resist while it is active. Now, the one downside to the device, though, is it does debuff you for a minus 400 proton damage. Now, there are a few enemies that have used this damage type recently, some various protonic-based powers, so it is worth mentioning the debuff, whereas previously we didn't always do that. But, anyways, it is a great device to have. As far as our engineering consoles, you'll have 5 of them on the ship once you take it to T5U and everything. Now, we had our quantum phase converter. We discussed that one previously. It's essentially another phaser tactical console, except it's universal. Now, because this is a very slow-moving ship naturally, we wanted to get a conductive RCS accelerator. Now, the one that I have here is a very rare, so you can usually pick these up for very cheap because they don't have a mod on them. They give you a buttload of turn rate, so it makes the ship turn a lot faster, a lot easier, and you can also proc a defensive ability for your shields off of the conductive RCS accelerator as well. So, basically one of those situations of why have just the one benefit when you can have 2? The next console we have is the Trillium Deplating. It is pretty much a shield capacitor and a neutronium armor smashed into one console. It gives a nice defensive increase to all of your resistances and gives a shield capacity increase, and comes from the Ragnarok mission. For our assimilated module, this is one of the rep items and everything from the Omega reputation. It gives us some pretty decent stats and everything. The main things that we use it for are the critical chance and the critical severity that it gives and everything, as well as a slight little bit of control expertise and hull regen, in case anybody was kind of curious. Then finally we have our House Martok defensive configuration. This is one of the new consoles that they had out there as of the Brushfire episode. Now, I believe I had one of these on me as well. Now, the main reason we use the Martok console is because it gives a bit of an increase to the maximum hit points of the ship. It gives a little bit of extra shield capacity, and it gives us some turn rate. So it lets the ship turn better and gives us overall better maximum stats. For our other science consoles, we had the 0-point energy conduit. Now the 0-point gives us a nice little bit of critical chance, and once you max it out at 14, gives a little bit of extra drain expertise. But our science console, our final one, is the Bioneural Gel Pack. This one gives around a 7% increase to Bridge Officer cooldown reduction, so it makes things cool down a little bit quicker, which is always very nice to have. Then, finally, for our tactical consoles, we have 3 of the phaser relays. These come from one of the other new missions that we have out there now. I believe it is... which mission did I say these come from? They come from the Of Signs Importance mission. So now we have a place that we can source these energy-specific consoles for free, which is very, very good. And they do come out at Mark 12 very rare. So...
yes. So we've got Disruptor and Phaser now that we can source for at very rare Mark 12.
Yes.
Which is yay!
And I want to believe we had a Tetrion somewhere as well, but don't quote me on that.
I'll have to double check.
Pretty sure it was in the
I think I know
Iconic
which
Anarch.
mission you're talking about. Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. Let me check.
I want to think it's the Midnight Mission, if I'm not mistaken.
I will check.
But anyways, continuing along, you do have a single hangar bay that you can use on the ship. Now, I left the slot blank because I'm going to assume that people are using the default pets that it comes with on a budget end, or perhaps they have another type of hangar pet that they would prefer. But hopefully you guys can kind of see how these consoles, how these items play off of each other and everything, what we're going for as far as that stuff goes.
And you are correct about the Tetrion Pulse Generator, Mark 12, on the Midnight Mission.
Okay, so it does come off Midnight. That is good. For our skills and everything, we'll take a quick look at those. Everything. As far as our skills go and everything, we didn't change anything here. We have 2 points in improved hull and shield capacity, 1 point each into shield and hull restoration. We have maxed out our advanced energy weapon training. We have 2 points in improved EPS flow, 1 point in impulse expertise. That's going to let the ship turn better. We have 2 points in our control and drain expertise each. And we had discussed possibly picking up drain infection, since this is a drain heavy build and everything. We'll discuss where we'd considered taking points from that in just a minute. But on the builder anyways, we had the 3 points in advanced targeting expertise and defensive maneuvering. Then we maxed out our hull plating with 3 points. We maxed out our shield hardness with 3 points. And we also picked up all 3 points in the weapon amplification and weapon specialization. Now, the specialization as of Season 13 is a 4% bonus, even though the builder says 6. It is still very worth picking up in my opinion. Then the amplification is actually now a 40% severity bonus, compared to the 20% that it was prior. Finally, for our other skills, we've picked up a point in offensive and defensive tuning, respectively, and also chose to further specialize and pick up some extra aux power. We have 2 points in the improved exotic particle gens. Then we also have 2 points in the advanced long range, or 3 points in the advanced long range targeting sensors. Then we also have your choice of either the hull pin or the shield penetration abilities and everything. The one I marked down was the shields, whereas Kirby prefers the hull pin. There are arguments that can be made either way, such as, what do you value more? Do you value getting past their armor, or do you value getting through their shields quicker? You can make arguments either way. There is no right or wrong answer to that one. As long as you have one of them at least, you're doing pretty good. Then our final
my argument
point
is usually my argument is usually the shields go down, and then what?
And the argument I make too is you can't damage the hull if you can't get through the shields. So we say there's arguments that can be made either way, but as long as you have one of them at least, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Then our final
it's an argument. We make arguments back and forth, so we're not gonna go through all our arguments. Yeah.
Then our final point is actually in the warp core potential to give us some extra power. Now, before the show, we had actually discussed the possibility of if you wanted to try to squeak out a little more damage and everything, you could try to remove a point from shield hardness and a point from defensive maneuvering. You could put a point into drain infection and a point into the warp core efficiency. That would get you a little bit of extra power, and drain infection in and of itself, no, it's not the most damaging ability out there, but since you're using a drain heavy build anyway, it's something you might could consider and everything. But we did want to make note of that because it was something that occurred to us after we started looking over the build, and yeah. But as far as our specializations go, we used a Intel primary and Strategist secondary. This gives us a nice balance of powers to play with, as well as once you max out the Intel tree, you'll have access to Intel Fleet, which is a very, very potent power in space, not to mention the various offensive and defensive powers you could get from the Strategist tree as well. But that's what we've got as far as our skills. Like I say, hopefully you can see how all this is coming together and everything. If you have questions, feel free to let us know after this. But moving on to our bridge officer powers. Now, we didn't change anything in the bridge officer power department. Now, my one gripe with this ship, even back then, was that it has very limited tactical seating, which is kind of ironic considering the ship. But for bridge officer seats, you have a Lieutenant Tactical, Ensign Universal, Commander Engineering, Lieutenant Commander Engineering, and a Lieutenant Science. Now for our Lieutenant Tactical, we have a Torpedo Spread 1 to take advantage of our Torp, and an Attack Pattern Beta 1. For our Ensign Universal seat, we made that into another tactical seat, and gave that the Beam Fire at Will 1. Then for our Commander Engineering, we have a Engineering Team 1 that gives some hull healing back to us, as well as purchase certain debuffs. We have our Reverse Shield Polarity, which recharges the shields as we're getting shot. So a nice little shield repair. Then we have an Aux to Bat 2 and Aux to Bat 3 in this case. Now our Aux to Bat is one way we can get better cooldowns and increase our damage a bit and everything. There is another thing that involves the duty officers, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. But for our remaining bridge officer powers, we also have a Structural Integrity Collapse 1. This was mainly because we had a ensign slot and didn't really know what to put in there. And then we had our Warp Bubble 1. It says Warp Bubble 2 on the builder, but that's actually supposed to be a rank 1. And everything. That's a bug they've not really corrected yet. Now, Warp Bubble is a nice defensive power that you can get by doing one of the missions. I believe it is the, I want to think it's the Delta Flight mission, or the Blood of the Ancients. I don't remember exactly which one. But I know it's one of those two. And whenever you use this power, any enemies within 4 kilometers will get debuffed and lose a portion of their damage for the time. Then finally, we have our Emergency Power to Weapons 3. This gives a bit of extra power to our weapons, and also gives us a nice little damage increase for the duration. Finally, for our Lieutenant Science, we have a Science Team 1. This gives us a nice little bit of shield healing. Excuse me. And also removes certain debuffs. Then we have our Hazard Emitters, which is a heal over time effect, and removes certain things like the fire from the Borg plasma torpedoes. But far as what we've got bridge officer-wise, like I say, I'm hoping as I'm explaining what some of these things do, that you guys are able to see what we're going for and everything. But because this is a more specialized build than what we might normally recommend on the budget end and everything, we did have to source out some duty officers in this case. In this instance, we went with 3 rare quality technicians. These are the blues, and you want the technicians with the effect that reduce time for all bridge officer abilities to recharge when aux to bat is used. So that is the key component, is having the 2 copies of aux to bat in this case, and also these duty officers, as that is the driving force behind the cooldown reduction. But now there are various sources you can get for the technicians and everything. It's easiest to buy them off the exchange, but any remarks regarding the bridge officer powers, right quick, Kirby? I know there was 1 or 2 things you had said last time.
Regarding the bridge officer abilities?
I thought there was 1 or 2 things you had said last time that they needed to kind of watch for.
I know the cooldown. Let's see let's see if I can speak tonight. With the fire at will 1, that's gonna be that's gonna have quite a bit of accuracy debuff. So you need to make sure that that you make up for that.
Yes.
The other thing I know with the emergency power to weapons 3, you could have put, if you have trouble with your shield healing, you could take out the structural integrity collapse and put in a emergency power to shields 1.
Indeed. I think that's one of the things we were mentioning last time.
That was one of the things we had mentioned last time. Yeah. Other than that, you could, if you're having no, I was going to say put auxiliary to SIP, structural integrity field, instead of the warp bubble if you're having trouble with that, but with the aux to bat, you'd almost never have aux power, yeah, to help you any, but,
yep.
Yeah, I think that was it. It's been a week, so it's hard to remember. And yep. Sorry, guys. And my meds are not being kind to me tonight. I spent half a family dinner, which was like 3 hours, with one eye closed because I was having double vision. Yeah. It has me. What's wrong?
But,
like, I'm seeing 2 of you.
Yep. Anyways, we'll move along to our traits really quickly.
But yes, let's move to our traits.
Now, our traits is where we made the biggest investment in everything of our EC this time around. Now we have the accurate trait, which is a free trait that you get. It improves the accuracy of your weapons. This will help to offset some of the penalty to the various firing modes, such as fall, cannon scatter, volley, and things like that. Then we have our Beam Barrage. This gives a stacking beam damage buff. This is from the Beam R&D Crafting School. Now, we always like to assume that as you're leveling up, you're going to level 1, maybe 2 of the schools with you, and that's going to unlock one of the traits. In this case, we chose the Beam School. Then we also have the Beam Training ability, which is a flat increase to our beam damage and everything that you get for free. We have Elusive, which is free defensive value that you get. This is also a free trait. We have Fleet Coordinator, which increases damage based on how many people you have in your party, up to 5, and does include you. So anywhere from a 2% to a 10% increase. Then we also have our Grace Under Fire trait. Now, if you're not an engineer and you want to use this build, you'll simply swap in your own career-specific trait and everything. Since the builder defaults to an engineer, we always typically just leave it as that, unless we get a special request or something. Then we start getting into our money traits, some of them. One of the ones we picked up was the ablative shell, and we replaced the nanite repair matrix of midnight with the ablative shell. The ablative shell, whenever it goes off, gives a heal over time effect as well as a temporary damage resist. And we felt that that's a better bonus than the nanite repair matrix, both of which are still good traits, but as for this purpose, we felt ablative shell is better. The other trait we had is the helmsman trait that replaced our operative, because we could pick up the crit D and the crit H elsewhere, because it was a very minor increase anyway. The helmsman increases the turn rate of your vessel and allows us to activate the evasive maneuvers ability more frequently. I know over the years it's pulled my rear end out of the fire quite a few times, actually.
Oh yeah.
Then finally, we have the point blank shot, which is, it increases our energy weapon damage the closer we are to a target, to a maximum distance, of course. That also comes from the House Peg mission. Then for our starship traits and everything, we have the best defense that also comes from House Peg. Our attack patterns grant a hull healing buff along with their normal effects. We have predictive algorithms, which is a stacking accuracy buff that we get from Intel. We have unconventional tactics, which is activating brace for impact, increases your damage for a short period of time. It comes from the strategist tree. And then we actually have a fourth trait this time around, and this is the standoff trait. Firing on the forward 90-degree arc of an opponent gives our weapons more damage than usual, and everything. So it is a bit of an extra damage buff. It was only 700k to get this for a Federation character. So it's a nice little trait to have to fill the slot. May not be the most powerful ever, but something is better than nothing in this case. Then for our rep powers, we have the advanced targeting systems from Dyson, which gives critical severity, and a pretty nice chunk of it too. We have advanced engines from Delta to increase the turn rate and speed of the ship. We have precision from the Romulan rep, which is a bit of critical hit chance for free. Then finally we have the chrono capacitor, which is further bridge officer cooldown reduction from the temporal tree. For our active reps, we have anti-time entanglement singularity. This is a very nice little thing that does damage to enemies within range. We have the biomolecular shield generator. This is the big green bubble you see people poof up that reduces damage to shields, sometimes in missions. Then we have deploy sensor interference platform. This is one potential power that you could use that will spawn a platform that taunts off of you if you need to in an emergency. Blah, words. Then finally we have quantum singularity manipulation. It gives us a temporary cloaking effect, as well as increasing all of our science stats by 100 for the time that it is active. The combo we always recommend is use your quantum singularity manipulation first, throw any other science powers and buffs you have on top of that, then drop your anti-time singularity and perhaps maybe a grav wall, something like that if you have it also, and you'll get a lot more damage. But yeah, that's pretty much what we've got as far as our abilities and everything goes. I hope you guys can see how this is playing off of each other, what we're doing to make changes and everything as we're going up from the 1 key to the mid-range and everything. Now, the total cost of everything was just a little over 16 million EC, so we still had a little shy of half of our budget left, EC-wise, and everything. Then the total amount of dilithium invested was 45,000. That's to get the assimilated, the 0 point, and the bioneural gel pack. You're looking at about 6 days purely due to dilithium refinement. That's assuming you have a single character running. But, yeah, that's pretty much our budget build and everything. Comments?
And,
anything?
well, while you were going over the budget build, it did dawn on me what we could have added. There is a specific bridge officer Now we are given, during the junior officer events, we are given one of these. That's the fabrication engineer, or no, maintenance engineer, sorry. And they have a secondary effect is added to batteries. So they're usually around 15 million, I think. I'm going to double check. But they're usually around that cost at the very rare. And
What are they for the rare?
so for the rare, I'm going to check right now.
Because 15 million would put us over budget,
Because 15
actually.
million would, yeah. But you can add those. You can use the free one, and then you can, because you can stack them up to 3. So let me
True, it is
see,
something.
where's the operations?
Yeah.
But anyway, and then buy a few batteries, and you can use the weapon enhancement batteries, which for the life of me I cannot remember.
Energy amplifier.
Thank you, the energy amplifier. And then the even though you don't need the power, you can use the straight weapons batteries, because with these they do have a flat bonus as well. A slight one, but it's still a bonus. Maintenance engineer.
It's the exocomp DOF, I think, ain't it?
Yes. So the exocomp duty officer is the free one, and then let's see. Search, okay. And you have to search through because there's a lot of different ones, so I'm going to see if I can find one.
Yep. But, anyways,
Anyway.
that is one thing we could have added in retrospect. I can't believe we forgot that, actually. Actually, no, I take that back. Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually can.
Because
But,
that's... Yep.
it's not normally
We
something
don't
I
usually
think of
think
because
about DOFs, that's
Yep.
why, so...
we don't, yeah.
That's why it...
That's one reason, folks, we don't usually do DOFs for the budget build save by request, because we don't like to assume what people have in this case. The only reason we included DOFs in this particular build is because they're an integral part of the Ox to Bat build. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done them. Everything.
Okay.
Did you find the cost of them?
So, there were not any rare ones with
There were
that
not.
ability. There were not. However, I was able to find a Torosek on the exchange for 4,400,000.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. And then right after him is... Well, the next one up is an exocomp, which that's surprising. And that's 15 million. So, I'm not sure if the Torosek, there is another Torosek after that for 18.9. So I'm not sure if the 4 million is a fluke. But
I would assume that it is, to be safe.
I
but
would
yeah.
as well.
But
But you can at least, at the very least, include the one exocomp we do get for free
yeah.
and buy some batteries and, you know,
But anyways,
and go with that, and that'll help as well.
Indeed. But anyways, like I say, that pretty much concludes the budget build for this week and everything. Like I say, I hope you guys can kind of see what we're doing, how the abilities play off of each other. So if you have questions regarding this build, maybe you want to use it, but you're not entirely sure about a certain power, feel free to let us know. If you've got a budget build you want us to do, again, let us know. Tell us, hey, we want this ship, I want this budget, I want whatever, and we'll see if we can't come up with something for you. But that's what we've got for the budget build this week. But one of the things for the Bugs Corner, I actually do have one out there for you guys. Is this is actually for my Space Barbie folks out there and everything. I noticed an issue with the Klingon females, the Federation Klingon females, that is, or if you attempt to put one of them in the Mirror Enterprise uniform, they pretty much every part of them disappears. Just about it. They look like a floating head, floating hands, and a pair of legs. So like a screwed up version of Andros from Star Fox, basically. So for my Space Barbie folks, if you're seeing issues like that, like I say, let me know. We take all kinds of bugs and everything. We want to report them to the devs, that way they can get them fixed and everything. If you've got any bug, really, let us know. Let these guys know. They'll get it to me. I'll pass it along to the devs. Or if you have my @handle and everything, feel free to let me know as well.
Yep, and you too can go, Chris, I broke it.
And for every person that says that, I'm going to shoot Kirby with a Polaron rifle. But
Anyway.
But in seriousness and everything, like I say, do let us know. If you've got a bug or something, feel free to come onto the forums. There's different forums for the Xbox, for the PS4, for the PC now and everything. That's actually where I get a lot of my reports from, is from that. But, anyways, coming up on our last segment of the evening, sadly Artie was not going to be able to join us. He's had some prior engagements that have had to take precedence and everything. But we have our Teacher's Corner for this week. What have you got for us, Teacher?
Well, our Teacher's Corner was actually inspired by some frustrations we've had with the Arena of Sompek. I have 16 characters I'm taking through, so I do a lot of 5 and dives, as we call them. But in order to do that, you need to make a private group, because you can't join a pug and expect everybody to die at round 5. Right?
You can't ask.
So,
you can ask the pugs. And
you can ask.
Most pugs I have been in, before I can even say something, like round 5.
Okay.
I've not been that lucky, but anyway.
I have not been that lucky either, but you can't expect that pugs will do that. So basically you end up needing to guarantee that everybody's gonna die for you on round 5. You need to make a private group. Well, I have come across the situation where a lot of people calling out to join a private group have simply said, well, I don't know how to make a private. When somebody says, well, why don't you make it? Well, I don't know how. So, the Teacher's Kirby for this week is how to make a private queue. The Teacher's Corner. So, I go over where to open it up, how to get to the thing, what you're looking at. I explain it step by step and go through it and show you how to make a private queue. And it's actually, as you'll see if you go through it, pretty simple. But since a lot of people don't know how, there you go. Now I can show them this video.
Well,
any comments, questions?
I know that's not much to say, I don't guess. Except if you've had issues, definitely check out the video.
Yeah. So if you got friends that say, I don't know how to make a private queue, now you have something to show them.
Indeed.
So
But
there you go.
anyways, that's our Teacher's Corner for this week. We will have that in the notes for you guys, everything, so you can check that out, whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much our show for this week and everything. And good shout out to our friends over at the Temporal Armada. Be sure to check those guys out on their radio broadcast as well. They've been kind enough to sponsor us. Also a shout out to our good friends over at the Kurtang Pirate Radio as well. Be sure to check those guys out. They're one of the other radio shows that have been kind enough to sponsor us as well. And everything. If you'd like to have a budget build done for your ship, as I was saying earlier, please let us know. Let us know what ship you want, what kind of a budget you've got to work with, if there's any special items, anything you want us to include, and We'll see what we can come up with for you. Also, if you would like help with your piloting and everything, feel free to record a brief little video clip, send it to us, so we can help you out with that as well, and hopefully get some of those numbers up for you and everything. But yeah, it's about all I can think of for this week. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed the show. We hope you found everything informative. Everything. It's a lot shorter show than what we usually do and everything. Wasn't really a lot there, but yeah. For now, folks, this is Captain Blade and the Pilot Review Show. And we're warping out of here.
L on Z.